Hey guys, Bix here, roadtoroota.com. Today is, what is it? It's the 30th. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun. Wanted to get to you real quick about some interesting goings on. A lot in preparation for next week. We had talked a lot about May 1st being a turning point for a lot of things, and the collapse of the system is one of them. Will it happen fast or will it happen slowly? My guess is it will happen fairly slowly, but you never know. Things like this get out of hand very quickly if all the pieces and parts are not fitting together. But the first thing I want to talk about is the insanity of what's going on. It's not insanity, the awakening of what's going on in the cryptocurrencies, especially Ethereum and Bitcoin. I did a big Ethereum piece yesterday or the day before, of all the uses. It was yesterday. All the uses of Ethereum, just unbelievable. And the more I think about it, and the more I research it, the more I see Ethereum is a lot like silver in that it'll move and move and move until it approaches Bitcoin. And right now, Ethereum's, what's it at? $76.76. And Bitcoin is at 1,343. So Ethereum has a long way to go. Will it pass Bitcoin? Possibly. Again, Ethereum's not necessarily a cryptocurrency. It is a token, an Ether coin that is used on these zillion different software platforms that can be built on the Ethereum blockchain. Anyway, exciting days for Ethereum, but the real exciting days are coming up when the rest of humanity gets in. Right now, it's just cryptocurrency savvy people who are buying and selling, and even the crypto people are starting to get excited, and they've been in it for a long time. It doesn't take much to get them excited. But the rest of humanity will get in at some point too. If it's not today, it might be tomorrow or next week or next month or in 5 years or 10 years, but they will all be involved in the crypto space at some point, like it or not, because it'll be so prevalent within our society. So keep an eye on Ethereum. If you don't have it, get it. Coinbase is selling it. I'm not a big fan of Coinbase. I recommend that everybody keep their cryptocurrencies out of the system. Nothing online, no third parties between you and your coins. Either a Trezor hard drive or paper wallets and that are created offline. So make it happen. All right, that's Ethereum. And then let me get to, all right, Bitcoin. There's the Bitcoin chart. Bitcoin's also rocking at 1350, 1343 right now. Slow and steady wins the race for Bitcoin, as I've been talking about. We're getting to that point where the Bitcoin Illuminati meet again, and usually it's end of May, beginning of June, and it's going to start another up run, which is really exciting for all us Bitcoin people. So yeah, Bitcoin's the old boring one these days compared to the other cryptos, but Bitcoin will be there. It's solid. It's doing very well. And the world is starting to wake up that a new form of currency is needed. And that new form of currency will most likely involve Bitcoin and the Bitcoin blockchain. So, yeah, it is not too late to get into Bitcoin. It's not too late to get into Ethereum. Some of the other ones are more risky. I don't know which one's going to survive, and most of them will not survive in the long run. It's just the way it goes. But some of them should do great. You know, if they have a unique, if they're a competition to Bitcoin, and that's all they offer, I doubt they will make it. Bitcoin will win that space, the currency space. If they are offering something else, such as Ethereum, I'm all behind that. You know, invent something new. Don't try to invent a new Bitcoin because it's not going to work. Bitcoin is just fine. Don't worry about the scalability. Don't worry about the potential fork. If the potential fork happens, you've got two coins. The same amount of two coins, and you can decide which one you think will be the winner. I know who I think is going to be the winner, and I'll be voting with my money. If that comes, I'll tell you which way I'm going to throw my money. But yeah, if the fork comes, great. If it doesn't, no big deal, and we keep chugging along. So very exciting times. And Bitcoin also, not to downgrade Bitcoin. Bitcoin is on a roll and is about to go on to a major hyper roll because Bitcoin will be used as a new form of money. And that's a big deal when the old form sucks. So we have news today that Antigua and Barbuda draft laws to implement Bitcoin. I told you, countries will start embracing Bitcoin. China's doing it, the US is doing it, all these other countries are starting to get into it because they know what's going to happen. They're on the inside. They know the monetary system is not long for this world. The unbacked system run by criminals will go away in a blink of an eye. The government of Antigua and Barbuda? It's not Bermuda, Barbuda, whatever that is drafting laws for implementation of Bitcoin, according to a local publication. The decision may have been influenced by online gambling mogul Calvin Ayre and even the self-proclaimed Bitcoin creator Craig Wright. He didn't create Bitcoin. Bitcoin was created by Alan Greenspan. I told you guys. Wouldn't that be cool if that was ultimately the main force behind Bitcoin was Alan Greenspan? It did come out at perfect timing, and he is the world's oldest and most proficient monetary computer programmer. That's the reason he got the job in the early 70s as the Gerald Ford's chief economic advisor, because he was in charge of the computer programs that created the unbacked fiat electronic financial monetary system that everybody holds their wealth and financial assets that Alan Greenspan created. So did Alan Greenspan spend the year after he left the Fed creating the Satoshi white paper? I think he was involved. I really do. Was it him as the main guy? I don't know. Could be. I think it's more likely that that guy Darian Nakamoto was involved, but Greenspan definitely had a hand in it, as the CIA and the Fed and all that guy. All those fellas there. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about some zero hedge things, because if you read Zero Hedge today, you can see everything's heating up for the crash, and the crash will begin soon. I think it's beginning right now, actually. North Korea, let's just not even deal with that. You know, it's a lot of bluster. They tried to fire another rocket and blew up. Like I said, there are certain entities well above the government of the United States and well above the government of North Korea that are taking care of any potential nuclear threat. So we really don't have to worry about it. Same thing happened to a U.S. rocket that was a secret military rocket that was about to be launched. It blew up on the launch pad, and if you slow down the video, you can see a spaceship come flying in at the last second, blow it up, and take off. Same with that meteor, supposed meteor, that was going into Russia, that exploded right before it hit the ground. And if you slow down the frames, you can see some kind of either a ship or a missile or something go right through that thing and blow it up. A lot is going on above our heads these days, and you gotta be keen to it, be aware to it, but don't be afraid of we're all going to die in a nuclear war, because it's not going to happen. All right, but this is interesting stuff here. Panic bank run leaves Canada's largest alternative mortgage lender on the edge of collapse. When you have a run on the bank, people get spooked and they sell and ask questions later, says a Bay Street investment banker. It's investment psychology that takes over. Hello? I thought everything was fine. I thought everything was fixed. The Canadian real estate market bubble is popping, and just like in 2008, the weak hands are starting to get exposed, and everybody's starting to run for their mortgage-backed banks. But that'll spread quickly to your everyday mom and pops, your you name it. Every bank will have a run in the coming weeks and months. So get out of that system. Get out as fast as you can. Your money is at risk of the the Canadian real estate market crashing, because all these banks are interconnected. They share similar customers, they share similar portfolios, lending portfolios. So if the real estate market blows up in Canada, it affects banks in Europe that are invested in mortgage-backed securities that are, hold collateral in Canadian real estate. All these, they're so intertwined, it's unbelievable. And all the derivatives added on top of that for protection. One big derivative holder goes, and you can kiss it all goodbye. The inconvenient truth about electric vehicles. Uh-oh, Jason Ford just bought an electric vehicle. Maybe he should read this one. And he was all, I'm going to, F you to the oil companies and all that. Well, power generation, I think in Florida, it is, I think it comes from natural gas, the majority of it. Not sure on that one, but most of the power generation in the U.S. comes from coal, I believe, coal and natural gas. So it's not exactly giving the FU to, to the oil companies when you have an electric vehicle, because you still got to make the electricity. Unless you have solar panels, JSNIP4, get your solar panels. Anyway, let's see. Electricity is a specialty product. It's not appropriate for transportation. It looks cheap at this time, but that's because it was designed for toasters, not transportation. Increase the amount of wiring and infrastructure by a factor of 1,000. It's not cheap. Yeah, I get what they're saying. If everybody had an electric car, we wouldn't have enough electricity. So JSNIP4, I think you're all right for now. I like your car though. It's sweet. Everybody go check out his video of his new car. All right, central bank's obsession with price stability leads to economic instability. The Fed's monetary policy that aims at stabilizing price level by implication affects the rate of growth of money supply. Since changes in money supply are not neutral, this means that a central bank policy amounts to the tampering with relative prices, which leads to the disruption of the efficient allocation of resources. Here's the problem, my friends. There has not been a free market to stabilize prices in America since the invention of computers in the 1970s. No market is free. No market is truthfully run and freely traded. It just is not happening. So whether or not the Fed raises or lowers interest rate is trivial. They can do anything they want and then set the price of everything else. Right now, it's the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain with the little flips and knobs. Amazing. That book, the original book, and the movie and all the remakes of the movies that I've analyzed. I've analyzed 2 of them. Unbelievable stuff. If you want to check it out at Road to Ruta. But what an amazing book on what's going on today. The little man behind the curtain flipping the knobs was literally what Alan Greenspan was doing with his computer programs, and now Steve Mnuchin at the U.S. Treasury is doing with his computer programs. He was the head of IT at Goldman Sachs. That's why he is where he is, because he can rig markets better than other people can rig markets. Or he colludes with all his buddies in the IT departments at Goldman Sachs, at JP Morgan, and they all collude and rig the markets together. So central bank's obsession with controlling stability should have ended probably in 1913, and that was the whole idea of putting the Federal Reserve together, is to maintain stability in a world that was about to change. And I think it was about to change because of the massive amounts of gold found in the Grand Canyon. Writing a book on that right now, and more proof goes into that analysis. I have no idea when I'm going to finish that book, but it's going to be a good one. And there's so much proof out there that that's exactly what the Federal Reserve was created to do, to maintain stability. And the bad guys took it over, and it's been ugly ever since. Okay, let's talk about the bond bears battered by the biggest short squeeze in history. Yeah, the good guys plan in this. When they let the system go, they don't want any winners. And that's the thing with the gold and silver people, and why they don't have a problem destroying their lives, is that they don't want winners. They want the system to just function as it did before, but getting rid of all the. They want to go back to a free market based system, but they can't. There's always going to be winners and losers. So they'll when people bet too big, like hedge funds, they hate hedge funds. The riggers, the official market riggers, hate hedge funds because they always try to take advantage of what the riggers are doing. So they'll squeeze them, they'll destroy them, and if you listen to Martin Armstrong, this is exactly what we're looking for. If you want to see the treasuries implode, it's not going to happen when the whole world is short treasuries. It's going to happen at the opposite end, which is where it's getting to now. Trump, love Trump. Scared for him, scared for our country. He is running out of time. And that time is precious if he's really trying to make a change. So he either needs to make that change happen by pulling the plug on the game he's playing, or he's going to find out that he will be relegated to the ash pit of former presidents that did what their masters told them to do. I still think Trump is absolutely on the good side, and at some point he's going to pull the plug on all this crap that's going on right now. But truthfully, his 180 in what he is trying to do tells me that he's given up trying to go for the smooth transition. He's trying to blow the system, and blowing the system means spending as much money as possible. Doing the same thing that his predecessors had done. And I think that's a good thing because it'll speed up the crash. So we'll find out what happens. And then it's all about what Trump does after the crash. And that's what I'm excited about. Had he fixed a few things before the crash and the crash happens, it wouldn't have mattered at all. So now he's at that point where he's like, okay, I'm not going to fix it. I'm going to run it faster than anybody else has run it and speed up the collapse, and then I'll take over. So we'll see what happens. Hedge fund CIO, what central banks have done is stunning, unprecedented. They've been saying that for I don't know how long, right? Those of you who follow this stuff. But here's a really good one. Italy warns sudden collapse of Alitalia would lead to great shock for the economy. I think it's one of the largest airlines in Italy. The airline business is the worst possible business. And the reason I say that is it takes massive amounts of capital, and bankers love to finance airplanes because they cost so much money. They can do 10,000 little deals or just one big deal. So sales reps love financing airplanes, and the airplane industry is so cyclical. I can't tell you how many bankruptcies there have been in airlines and how many banks and finance companies have lost money on airline leases. But the sales reps love it because you get the volumes, $100 million airplane, stuff like that. Huge volumes for very little amount of work compared to what it would take to get that kind of volume on a onesie twosie basis. So the airline industry notoriously goes bankrupt, and the finance companies and leasing companies, especially the leasing companies, notoriously lose their shirts. And that's what's happening right now. And the Italian banks are so weak already. And I'll guarantee you they all have airplane leases to Alitalia. And good luck. And it's a mess. It's a nightmare. Italy is not long for this world. And that means the whole euro is not long for this world as far as the economic system. And again, everybody is connected at the hip. Monte de Pesci, I think it was 2 days ago, they said they need another bailout. They're right back in the news. So is Deutsche Bank. All of it is happening all over again. The same thing that was happening at the end of the third quarter last year was stalled. It's all happening now. It's going to go on next week and then run into the summer. And then if we're still around August, September, that's the ultimate, the end of the U.S. fiscal year. So we will see what happens. Russian oligarch suffers 50% loss on Singapore real estate sale. Real estate is going down. It is going to go down really hard with no more cheap money and the Fed talking about raising interest rates, although they don't really do it. A quarter a point. Just talk of it screws up the housing and real estate markets. So, that's the big one. That's the mother. That's what happened in 2008. It was the real estate problems. Bubble, bubble, bubble. We're in a huge bubble again. Home ownership at all-time lows. Lucky millennials. I mean, they're lucky that they don't own a home. Why bubbles are like porn. If it looks like a bubble and acts like a bubble, it's probably a bubble. There's Janet Yellen and the evil one right next to her left right there, Stanley Fischer, the assistant or vice chairman of the Federal Reserve. That's the guy who pulls all the shots. He's the ex-head of the Israeli central bank. It's the ex-Mossad agent sitting there right next to Janet Yellen, controlling the United States of America's monetary system. Why? Why is he there? Why was he allowed to go there? Very simple. The Israeli central bankers and the Mossad control the finances of the United States. It's that easy. Eric Peters, if rates ever rise above 3.5%, it would spark massive defaults. It'll be all over before it even gets there. I mean, massive defaults are already about to start happening because the underlying economic problems are not fixable unless you have cheaper and cheaper money, and the money's not getting cheaper and cheaper. Lender loan crash. Nearly every major regional bank missed lending estimates. It's time to throw the sentiment idea in the ash can where it belongs. So you hear the mantra, everything's going fine, and then you see all these problems with this bank and this bank and this bank and this bank. Pretty soon it's going to be, the reason people don't say that we're in a gigantic problem is because stock market is all-time highs and housing prices are at all-time highs. Those are the two big asset classes that people, especially in the West, look at: stock prices and housing prices. And as long as they're doing great, there's a wealth effect. And as soon as they have a hiccup, boom, everything goes away really fast. Okay, let's see what else we got. Let's see if there's anything exciting. Pence, Trump's tax plan to increase deficit in the short term. Trump's tax plan is being designed to destroy the dollar. Everything Trump is doing now is to destroy the dollar. Run higher deficits, run the printing press, build out the infrastructure, build out the wall, spend more money on healthcare. You name it, Trump's trying to destroy the dollar. He gave up the smooth landing thing. Now there's an urgency about what's going on right now. That's why Trump is flip-flopping on everything. There's an urgency to destroy the dollar, to destroy the system, to return to something else, because there's just bubbles everywhere and way too much debt, massive amounts of debt that need to go away. And the only way to get rid of them is a total collapse, and that's what has been put off for all this time. If you ever asked yourself, why does our country allow these people to run our lives and ruin our lives, and why hasn't anybody ever stood up for them? That's the answer. The answer is everybody's afraid to press that button, because that button would destroy the monetary system and the wealth of the majority of the world. And it's not necessarily the destruction of that wealth, but it's how do you start up again? That's the big problem that the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston talks about in the Road to Ruta comics. It's a big problem that Alan Greenspan talks about in his book, his first book, The Age of, I keep thinking The Age of Innocence, The Age of something. Yeah, it was all about reallocation of assets. The big quandary at the Federal Reserve is, how do you allocate assets? Why are you put in charge of it? And they don't have no idea how to reallocate money after the old money goes away. So, but we will find out soon enough. This is Bix Weir, roadtoruta.com. Make sure you subscribe to these videos and go to the website and get a free book. Just put your email and your name in. Go to roadtoruta.com. And you can search for any subject too. Search for the Wizard of Oz stuff that I've written about. Really cool stuff if you're into conspiracy theories. Anyway, Bix Weir, talk to you later. Selling it. I'm not a big fan of Coinbase. I recommend that everybody keep their cryptocurrencies out of the system. Nothing online, no third parties between you and your coins. Either a Trezor hard drive or paper wallets and that are created offline. So make it happen. All right, that's Ethereum. And then let me get to, all right, Bitcoin. There's the Bitcoin chart. Bitcoin's also rocking at 1350, 1343 right now. Slow and steady wins the race for Bitcoin, as I've been talking about. We're getting to that point. The more I see Ethereum is a lot like silver in that it'll move and move and move until it approaches Bitcoin. And right now, Ethereum's, what's it at? $76.76. And Bitcoin is at 1,343. So Ethereum has a long way to go. Will it pass Bitcoin? Possibly. Again, Ethereum's not necessarily a cryptocurrency. It is a token, an Ether coin that is used on these zillion different software platforms that can be built on the Ethereum blockchain. Anyway, exciting days for Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadtoruta.com. Today is, what is it? It's the 30th. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun. Wanted to get to you real quick about some interesting goings-on. A lot in preparation for next week. We had talked a lot about May 1st being a turning point for a lot of things, and the collapse of the system is one of them. Will it happen fast or will it happen slowly? My guess is it will happen fairly slowly, but you never know. Things like this get out of hand very quickly if all the pieces and parts are not fitting together. But the first thing I want to talk about is the insanity of what's going on. It's not insanity. The awakening of what's going on in the cryptocurrencies, especially Ethereum and Bitcoin. I did a big Ethereum piece yesterday or the day before of all the uses. It was yesterday. All the uses of Ethereum, just unbelievable. And the more I think about it, and the more I research for Ethereum, but the real exciting days are coming up when the rest of humanity gets in. Right now, it's just cryptocurrency savvy people who are buying and selling, and even the crypto people are starting to get excited, and they've been in it for a long time. It doesn't take much to get them excited. But the rest of humanity will get in at some point too. If it's not today, it might be tomorrow or next week or next month or in 5 years or 10 years, but they will all be involved in the crypto space at some point, like it or not, because it'll be so prevalent within our society. So keep an eye on Ethereum. If you don't have it, get it. Coinbase